Hey, I'm Pascal from Orange Pixel, and today we're going to talk about my games coming to the Switch, the holy grail for game developers, and how I got there. So let's talk. Hang on, just a second. In January I made the first video of the year and I talked about wanting to get games on the Switch this year, my own games. And I also wanted that last year, but last year I failed at that, and this year I'm still setting that goal of releasing something on the Switch. Within a couple of days of that video I got multiple people talking to me on private messages but also on emails, and one of those persons was a young Belgian guy, Friedel. You can find him as Serious Lion on the Discord, and I'm not sure what it was, but his email and what he proposed and how he saw things was, I guess it just clicked with me and how I look at things and business and stuff like that. So within a week of that email, I think we already had an agreement and started working together. So I want as many games on the Switch as possible, and Friedel really understood that. And our agreement is pretty simple. We're gonna try to get as many of my games on the Switch. The revenue share is going to be a split 50-50. That's an equal partnership because I did all the work on the games and doing all the publishing. He is doing all the work on porting and figuring out how to get things on the Switch. And this way it doesn't cost us a lot of investment. I don't have funding to pay other game developers to create my games for the Switch. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I had, then it was a lot easier. I wish I had more time, then I could do it myself. But all those things aren't available. So this is the best option. Up to now it only costs us a developer kit for Nintendo. I think a developer kit is slightly more expensive than the normal Switch, so it's not that expensive. Now partnering up is something that works for me, but obviously that's also very possible for other people to just do it yourself. There are a lot of tools, Unity, Game Maker, and many of those type of engines have options to build a Switch version. You just have to sign up with Nintendo and get it all done. The problem for me is that, well, in simple terms, this happened in January. He's been working since January on Switch games. I've released 20 updates for Space Grunts in that time. I've created and released Snake Core on iOS, Android and PC. I just released Space Grunts, the full version on Steam, and I started working on the residual game and built a complete demo that's very playable. And I actually released and ported a bunch of my other games, Android games, onto other Android platforms that aren't available just yet. But I've been doing a lot of extra work. I just don't have the time to also learn Monogame, which is the language we're using to get it on Switch, and figure out all the Switch tools and hardware. I'm just too busy to also handle these things, because if I handle Switch ports or other console ports, I don't have time to work on all the other games that I'm actually releasing in the meantime and that are actually making money right now, so that I can stay in business and create new games. Alright, so we are pretty much aligned on what we expect from this. Well, pretty much no expectations, except that we're gonna release as many of my games on the Switch. We're gonna split all the revenue 50-50, equal share, equal partners. And at the least we hope to make back the money we put into buying our developer kits, which if that doesn't happen, this has been an extreme waste of time, but I'm pretty confident we're gonna make that back. Hopefully with just the first game. So what it involves is he takes my source code, which is written in Java libgdx, and he ports it to Monogame C#, which is another environment, another language. Many reasons why Java, just pure Java, is not going to work. There are a couple of different teams working on some other solutions to have libgdx games running on consoles. I don't think any of those are ready just yet. I haven't heard much about it. So there are other ways coming, but I'm not sure if those are the best ways. And for us, this is the best way, because porting it to Monogame also allows us to hopefully at some point release these games on other consoles, which is less work for him and more revenue for both of us. So that's a win-win. So while he does all that Monogame porting stuff, I had to figure out the back end of the Nintendo eShop and getting games on there and all those things. But most of the things that we are figuring out is just for the first game, because it becomes a lot easier and increasingly easier with the next game. So the road ahead is pretty straightforward. Right now, Meganoid is at Nintendo. Space Quest is going to be submitted to Nintendo tomorrow. We're working on Heroes of Loot 2 right now, which is going to be interesting because it has 2-player co-op mode. So one player gets this, one player gets that, and you can join each other on a quest. Going to be interesting. After that, Ashworld, Snake Core, Space Quest 2, Residual, the game I'm working on now. Possibly Sir Questionnaire, Gunslinger Rogue Tactics getting a second life after the disaster from last year. It's still a great game, so maybe on Switch it gets a good fan base. And having these games running on mono game means other consoles are also an option. We already discussed Xbox and perhaps PlayStation, but the problem right now is that we're in the middle of these generation shifts from the Xbox to the new Xbox. I don't know how these things are called. Xbox, X1, One X, X1, One X, and PlayStation 4 going to PlayStation 5. So we're not really sure if it's a good idea to focus on those consoles right now, because in December maybe or early next year there might be new versions of these consoles and nobody plays or buys games on the old consoles. At least it's an option to get these games up and running on new hardware at some point using mono game. So who knows where this ends, and hopefully it's gonna make us enough money to make it worth our time, our combined time, and I'm pretty sure I'll do a video on that at some point later this year or early next year after we actually release something. But that's it for this week's video. If you have technical questions or things like that, hop on the Discord, and there's a channel for code talk, and Serious Lion is there most of the time. He does all the code and stuff, and I'm pretty sure he can share some of it. Just ask away there, and don't go private messaging him every time, because nobody likes all those private messages. We have channels, we have a server for it. Just ask it in public, and that way everybody reads the answer. Saves everybody a lot of time. So if you have other questions, drop them in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Alright, gonna play some Space Quest, because I really like my own games again. Just playing them on new hardware, it's pretty cool. See you next week. Bye.